On March 18, 2009, Claudia Lawrence vanished after leaving her job at the University of York. Last seen walking home, she made a cheerful call to her mother and sent a final text to a close friend. Then, she disappeared without a trace. Despite extensive searches and investigations, no leads emerged, leaving her family and friends in despair. The police classified her case as suspected murder. Over the years, numerous theories have surfaced, but the mystery remains unsolved. What truly happened to Claudia that fateful night? Welcome to Bad Things. Join us today as we explore what most likely happened to Claudia Lawrence. Claudia Elizabeth Lawrence was born on February 27, 1974, to Peter and Joan Lawrence in Malton, North Yorkshire. Her father, Peter Lawrence, was a successful solicitor, while her mother had served as the mayor of their town. Growing up in a middle-class family, Claudia enjoyed a comfortable lifestyle alongside her sister, Ali, who was 3 years older than her. From a young age, Claudia had a passion for food, which laid a foundation for her career choices. Claudia attended local schools before enrolling in York College for Girls, a private school where she studied until age 19. She then enrolled in a catering college. After qualifying as a chef, Claudia honed her skills at various hotels and restaurants, including the Best Western Monk Bar Hotel and the Quality Hotel. In 2006, Claudia secured a position at the Roger Kirk restaurant at the University of York. This job allowed her to work more regular hours, better fitting her lifestyle than the long hours typical in restaurant work. Around this time, she purchased a 2-bedroom terraced cottage in Heworth, a York suburb, for £180,000. Though friends described her as somewhat shy, Claudia was well known in her community. She frequently visited local pubs like the Nag's Head, where she enjoyed spending time with friends and had an active social life. Claudia loved hosting dinner parties, often inviting friends to share a good meal and lively conversation. Her friends noted that she enjoyed a vibrant social life, yet remained single for most of her adult years. This was partly due to the complex nature of her relationships. She was described as having a series of short-term relationships, many of which were with married or committed men. The day of the event. Claudia started her day by working a morning shift at Goodbrick College, which is part of York University. On that fateful day, March 18th, she finished her shift at 2 p.m. She was seen leaving the campus on a security camera, heading home on foot since her car was at the mechanic. Her home was approximately 1.7 miles away. A CCTV camera next to a post office at 204 Melrose Gate captured her on her walk home, including a moment where she posted a letter nearby. It seemed like a normal afternoon for her. Around this time, a friend offered to give her a lift. She was picked up at 225 Melrose Gate and reached home by 2:50 p.m. Claudia was looking forward to the rest of the day. She headed out of the house to run some errands and ran into her neighbor, Linda Chapman. After this interaction, CCTV footage captured her returning home at about 3:05 p.m. Sometime afterward, she chatted with an old friend via text. Her friend later mentioned that Claudia had planned on walking to her work shift the next morning, which surprised her friend, who advised Claudia against walking to work so early. Later that evening, she had a pleasant conversation with her father on the phone at 8:10 p.m. They made plans to meet at the nearby pub, the Nag's Head, over the coming weekend. At 8:23 p.m., she also called her mother. They had a relaxed conversation and made plans for the upcoming Mother's Day on March 22nd. Her mother later stated that Claudia sounded completely normal. Among the people she contacted that evening was her friend, Jennifer King, whom she texted at 8:23 p.m., lamenting her upcoming workload. "Bloody hell, I've got 12 days on the trot, early mornings too. No fun for me." However, what raised suspicions was the fact that the restaurant was closed on weekends, so she wouldn't have to work 12 consecutive days. Additionally, Claudia usually ended her texts to close family and friends with an X, but this message lacked one. This discrepancy raised authorities' suspicions. Did Claudia really send this message? At 9:12 p.m., she received a text from Steve Salmons, a former employee at the Nag's Head. Salmons was residing in Cyprus at the time, and Claudia was planning a trip to the island soon. She was chatting with him about the difficulties she faced finding affordable flights and accommodations. It's unclear what her activities were after 9 p.m. on March 18th. Claudia did not show up at work the next day, so her manager called her at 10 a.m., but it went straight to voicemail. Later that day, on March 19th, Claudia had plans to meet her friend Susie Cooper at the Nag's Head. When Susie arrived and found Claudia absent, she grew concerned. Initially, Susie thought Claudia might have simply stood her up and shared her worry with their friend Jennifer King, who worked at the bar. Although Claudia's home was only a few doors away, none of them found her absence suspicious enough to check on her. Instead, Susie texted her, "Oh, thanks a lot for standing me up." But the text was left unanswered, which was very out of character for Claudia, as she was typically very responsive to messages. After receiving no response, Susie contacted Claudia's father on March 20th. Peter first called Claudia's boss and learned that she had missed work for 2 days in a row, and no one had heard from her. This was extremely unusual, as Claudia was a dependable employee who would never miss work without prior notice. However, her absence had not yet been reported by her boss. Now the alarm bells truly began to ring. Peter used his spare key to enter Claudia's home and found that almost everything appeared in order. Claudia's bed was made and dishes were in the sink. But something felt off. Her handbag was on the bedstead, containing essential items like her purse, passport, and bank cards, but other important belongings were missing: her mobile phone, hair straightener, and the rucksack she usually took to work. This was very unusual, as she used these items daily. It also seemed odd that her passport was in her bag. Her toothbrush was in the kitchen instead of the bathroom, and her slippers were placed beside the front door. Among other unusual findings were 2 bags from T.M. Lewin, a men's fashion brand. The state of her house suggested she might have left for work on March 19th, but this couldn't be verified. Police investigation ensues. Peter reported Claudia missing to the police around 2 p.m. on March 20th. Initially, the North Yorkshire police were slow to act, thinking she might have simply decided to take some time away from home. Detective Superintendent Ray Galloway, who led the investigation, explained that they didn't initially suspect Claudia was in danger. However, as days passed with no sign of her, they began to take the situation more seriously. While searching the house, the police also found an empty hair dye box and a pair of rubber gloves, suggesting Claudia had used it to dye either her own hair or someone else's. Close friends would later report that, although Claudia sometimes dyed her own hair, she routinely visited her hairdresser. Her hairdresser had dyed her hair just 3 weeks prior, so why would she dye it again? They also stated that she would never dye someone else's hair. Based on the hair dye bottles, it was speculated she might have bleached her hair. The police issued a public appeal for information and checked Claudia's route to work. The Heworth community also showed genuine concern, and many locals began searching for Claudia. The investigation led the police to compile a rogues gallery of men who might be linked to Claudia. Galloway emphasized the need to trace anyone who might have been romantically involved with her, as he strongly believed Claudia had been a victim of someone with whom she had a romantic relationship. The media also speculated on how these romantic entanglements could have influenced what happened to her. During the first month, police searched 270 houses and 1,000 rooms at the university where she worked, hoping to find clues. Phone calls poured in from the public, and the police managed to collect over 800 statements from potential witnesses. After 5 weeks of searching, on April 24th, the North Yorkshire Police upgraded the case from a missing person inquiry to a murder case. Although there was no proof of Claudia's death, there was also no proof that she was alive. Her parents left a heartbreaking message on her phone saying, "Please listen to these messages, and if you're able, please send just a quick text or make a quick call. You may not be able to do this, but we just hope there's a possibility you can." Nearly 11 weeks after she went missing, a special episode of Crime Watch aired, featuring reconstructions of Claudia's last known movements and interviews with her family. Inspector Galloway stated after the program aired, "We have had information and callers who have either been in a relationship with Claudia or suspect others have been in a relationship with her. However, due to the nature of these relationships, involved parties were hesitant to be fully transparent." The police also extended their investigation to Cyprus, the island Claudia was planning to visit, and interviewed several people. Many either denied knowing Claudia or being in a relationship with her. With the CCTV cameras at the Melrose Gate post office failing to capture any sign of Claudia, it was evident that even if she had left for work that morning, she had not covered half the distance to her workplace. It was unlikely she took a different route. The police shared some information regarding the investigation, stating that a female jogger had raised concerns about a rusty old white van she had seen in the area around the time of Claudia's disappearance. On October 29, 2013, following the creation of North Yorkshire Police's new major crime unit, the investigation was reviewed with fresh perspectives. They conducted a new forensic search of Lawrence's apartment and found something interesting: new fingerprints and a man's DNA on a cigarette. Over the years, several individuals were arrested in connection with Claudia's case, but were later released without charges. The police conducted searches in various locations based on new information, but faced challenges due to a lack of concrete evidence. In 2014, the police made some significant arrests, but none led to any development in the case. This included her colleague Michael Snelling, who was released after questioning in July 2014. A man named Paul Harris, who owned a nearby pub, was arrested on suspicion of obstructing justice, but was again released without charges. In March 2015, a man in his 50s was arrested, but he was released after it was clarified that he wasn't involved in her disappearance. Throughout the investigation, Claudia's family remained vocal about their frustrations with the police. Joan Lawrence expressed her discontent, saying, "It's been 14 years and they don't seem to follow up on any new information." In 2019, the Missing Persons Act, also known as Claudia's Law, was passed. This law allows families in the UK to take over the affairs and finances of their missing family member after 90 days have passed. Previously, families could only do so if they declared their missing relative deceased, a confirmation Claudia's family never received. Peter Lawrence campaigned tirelessly for this law to be implemented. Tragically, he passed away on February 11, 2021, without ever discovering what happened to his daughter. Theory 1. Abduction and murder. One of the most widely accepted theories is that Claudia was abducted and murdered shortly after returning home on March 18, 2009. This theory gained traction early in the investigation, especially after police classified her case as a suspected murder just weeks after she went missing. Moreover, there were a series of suspicious incidents involving strange men and a woman who could likely have been Claudia. One witness reported seeing a couple along University Road at 6:10 a.m. on the morning of March 19th. The couple was allegedly seen arguing in a maroon-colored car. Police found this witness credible, as the location made sense. Claudia often took that route to work. Another witness reported seeing a man with a young woman near Melrose Gate Bridge around 5:35 a.m. He described the woman as brunette, slim, and approximately 5 foot 6 inches tall. The description of her clothing matched items Claudia would have in her wardrobe. The man had his face covered by a hoodie and was smoking a cigarette, which he held in his left hand. Additional supporting evidence includes the fact that investigators found Claudia's phone was last active until 12:10 p.m. on March 19th. Police suspect that someone intentionally switched off her phone shortly after that. Another person of interest was a man seen outside Claudia's door by a cyclist on the morning of March 19th between 6:45 and 6:55 a.m. The man appeared to be between the ages of 45 to 55, which raised suspicions as he was seen in the area unusually early. Yet another man was captured walking toward and then away from Claudia's place on the night of March 18th between 7 and 8 p.m. These strange and unexplainable encounters strongly suggest that Claudia did not disappear on her own. Theory 2. Secret life or new identity. Some people think Claudia may have chosen to start a new life elsewhere. There were claims that she had been seen in Cyprus shortly after her disappearance. This theory arose partly because Claudia had planned a trip there soon and was also exploring work opportunities. However, this theory has been largely dismissed by her family. Martin Dales, speaking on behalf of Peter Lawrence, stated, "The suggestion that she might have wanted to live and work there is new news and is not what is understood to have been in her future plans in 2009. Moreover, even if she had intended to move, it was highly unlikely that Claudia would simply disappear without informing her family. She was very close to them, which is why this theory was ultimately rejected." Theory 3. Accident or medical emergency. Another theory is that Claudia may have suffered an accident or medical emergency while walking home, which could explain why her house looked as though she had left for work. However, this theory was quickly dismissed when police searched the area and found no trace of her along her usual route. Even if she had been involved in an accident, it would be improbable for it to have occurred so far off her route. Additionally, in September 2021, police searched the Sand Hut and Gravel Pits, a fishing area in Yorkshire. Despite using cadaver dogs and ground-penetrating radar, the search yielded nothing. Consequently, this theory was also dismissed. It's evident that Claudia was most likely a victim of abduction and murder, particularly by someone she knew. This theory aligns with the available evidence, her relationships with men, and the many strange incidents that occurred near her home. This theory is further supported by the fact that several men were arrested, including one charged with obstructing the course of justice. This suggests that the police may have information but lack the necessary evidence to identify the responsible individual. Detective Galloway mentioned during the investigation, "I suspect the chef may have been involved in an affair with a married man who is now concealing that relationship." This theory implies that the secrecy surrounding Claudia's relationships may have placed her at risk. The state of her house also suggests that someone might have staged it to look as though she had left for work. In 2017, investigator Mark William Thomas said, "My police contacts are very clearly telling me that those responsible for Claudia's disappearance and murder have been inside her house." All signs indicate that Claudia likely knew her assailant, and her disappearance was a result of a relationship that took a dangerous turn. This remains the most plausible theory to date.